Our journey to this corner of the world started with a 5-day visit to neighboring Azerbaijan, staying first in the capital city of Baku, which is located next to the Caspian Sea. The trio of iconic flame towers dominate the skyline. Their design was inspired by the city's history of fire worship, and at night they put on a dazzling LED light show. Next to the towers is Martyrs Lane, a memorial and cemetery dedicated to those killed by the Soviet Army in 1990. A symbol of the city is the 12th century Maiden Tower, built to honor a girl with fire-colored hair who saved Baku from enemy invaders. A journey by bus along the coast led us to Gobistan, where we located the most mud volcanoes of any country in the world. And if you're wondering if the mud is hot, one of our travelers demonstrates that it's definitely not. We later stopped at Gobistan National Park, a World Heritage Site, which contains over 6,000 rock engravings dating back 40,000 years. The petroglyphs provide information about the prehistoric people that populated this area. The next day, we paid a visit to a remote village on the slope of the Caucasus Mountains, where we had lunch with a local family. We drove back to Baku the next day, stopping to explore the Haydar Aliyev Center with its wave-like, award-winning design and distinctive architecture. It opened in 2012 and houses many artifacts honoring the culture and history of the area. The center hosts numerous exhibitions and is intended to play an integral role in the intellectual life of the city. Our last night in Azerbaijan called for a special evening with mouth-watering dinner and appropriate entertainment to accompany it. Then it was on to Istanbul and the adventures waiting for us in Turkey. A must-see on every visitor's schedule is a visit to the Hagia Sophia Mosque. Of course, the line to get in was incredibly long, with the brutal sun beating down upon us. But the wait was definitely worth it. The mosque was built in 537 AD as a Christian cathedral, but became a mosque in 1453. In 1931, the church became a museum, but it reverted to a mosque in 2020. Because Muslims believe that visual images are a form of idolatry, most of them from the Christian era have been removed, but not all. This image of Mary and Jesus uses cloth panels to prevent it from being seen from below. Also remaining is this mosaic panel of Jesus with Mary and John the Baptist. Next up was a short walk to Topkapi Palace, a key attraction in the city and an impressive example of Ottoman architecture. For 400 years, it served as the administrative center of the Ottoman Empire. Today it is a museum, housing imperial collections from the Ottoman rulers. The one danger confronting the tourist when visiting the Grand Bazaar of Istanbul is getting lost. There are over 4,000 shops in the bazaar, accommodating 200,000 visitors a day. Tea is very popular in Turkey, and while black tea is the most common, there are many varieties to choose from. And who can resist the honey-drenched sweetness of baklava? I'll have one of each. The Spice Bazaar is another Istanbul institution worthy of a visit. The sights, sounds, and smells are intoxicating, and there are many delectables to choose from. These include spices, dried fruit, cheese, sausage, jam, nuts, seeds, tea, dozens of flavors of Turkish delight, and more. The Blue Mosque is an imperial mosque from the Ottoman era, built between 1609 and 1617. It remains a functioning mosque to this day. One characteristic that sets the Blue Mosque apart from other mosques is its 6 minarets, where other mosques have only 2 or 4. The painted floral motifs and the thousands of tiles are largely blue in color, giving the mosque its popular name. Comprehensive restoration work on the mosque was completed in 2023. The Basilica Cistern is Istanbul's largest cistern and was an ancient engineering marvel built during the 6th century AD. The weight of the roof over the cistern is supported by 336 columns. It is located about 600 feet from the Hagia Sophia Mosque. Our sojourn in Istanbul complete, we boarded a plane for a 1-hour flight and then a bus ride to the Cappadocia region in central Turkey. Our first stop was to one of the so-called underground cities in this region. They were used as temporary shelters during the frequent raids by enemies. The largest of the 200 cities found so far was able to accommodate 30,000 people. Large stones were used to close entrances to the cities. A pottery workshop was our next stop, and we watched a master craftsman turn a lump of clay into an elegant vessel. He made it look so easy. We were up at 3:30 the next morning to experience one of the highlights of the trip, a balloon ride over the Cappadocia region with its unique rock formations. The lack of sleep mattered not at all as we watched the crews inflate the balloons before we climbed aboard for the 1-hour flight. It's hard to put into words the exhilaration of watching over 100 balloons ascend into the skies with well over 1,000 passengers, all vying for the perfect viewing spot within the balloon basket. The weather was perfect and the sights unbelievable. Here we see a balloon crew working hard to ensure a perfect landing. And of course, a photo op to remember the experience. There were many unforgettable moments during our trip, and one truly unique moment resulted from our visit with a couple who lived in a fairy chimney. The chimneys were formed over millions of years as a result of volcanic eruptions, and these surreal spires can be up to 130 feet tall. Surprisingly, these homes are fairly comfortable. The next day we had another encounter with a local family, this time visiting an 8-acre farm run by a husband and wife. We helped prepare Turkish pancakes called gözleme, a flatbed bread filled with various ingredients. Very tasty. And later, one member of our group decided to try his hand at being a farmer. After breakfast the next morning, we listened to archaeologist Edip Ozgar speak of his work helping to uncover some of Turkey's ancient treasures. Then it was off to the Antalya Archaeological Museum, one of Turkey's largest museums, which houses over 5,000 works of art. The Aspendos Theater in Sarık is the best preserved ancient theater in the world. It was built during the reign of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius and could seat over 7,000 people. Then it was time to board the Gullet for a 4-day cruise along the southwestern shores of Turkey, relaxing on the ship to take in the views. Or we might climb aboard a motorized skiff to land on shore for hikes to admire the scenery. Or not. On our last night aboard ship, we were treated to a spectacular thunder and lightning show. Pretty special. We disembarked after 4 days to visit the ruins at Ephesus, our last excursion of the trip. It's a popular tourist attraction, and the ruins were designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2015. The Celsus Library was originally built around 135 AD and reconstructed in the 1970s. The Great Theater was constructed in the 3rd century BC, but was enlarged during the Roman period. Time to head to the airport for our return flight home. But before we land, let's look at some of the other sites that were also part of this trip.